Well, get ready for some bigger changes to our weather pattern across Central Oregon. Hey everyone, I'm Darrell Winninger from the Central Oregon Daily Weather Center, and today we started off with a whole lot of cloud cover, wet roads, and a light breeze. Today, we've already seen a lot of clearing, and even more clearing is expected as we go into tonight. But I did mention some changes. Some of those include a lunar eclipse. It's going to be visible for most of, or all of Central Oregon tonight, most of the West Coast, and that's going to be between 3 and 4 a.m. We'll talk about that more here during the next couple of minutes, the next several minutes, but already we've seen quite a bit of clearing. And when we go ahead and focus on roads through the Central Oregon, through the high desert, some of them have shadows on the roads, others don't. And that's just because we still have some in and out clouds. Now, the passes look pretty darn nice. In fact, we have mostly dry roads through the passes. A couple of roads, such as Century Drive on the way up to Bachelor, looks a little wet. That's because we've been getting some melting. Now, let's talk about this lunar eclipse. Here's how it works. The Earth is in between the sun and the moon. For us, it will be nighttime, and the Earth's atmosphere is actually going to cast a shadow on the moon, and that's because the sun's rays go through the atmosphere. Now, a little bit of physics for you. When it comes to the visible spectrum, red has the longest wavelength and it can actually go a lot further. That's why we use red in signs. That's why we have red lights, just because you could see it quite a bit further. And the sun's rays are going through the Earth's atmosphere. They make it all the way to the moon. That's why it casts a red shadow on the Earth, or for the Earth to see, it casts a red shadow on the moon because it goes through the Earth's atmosphere, those sun's rays. Now, when it comes to the details of this lunar eclipse, it will be early Tuesday morning, 3/3. Now, I say tonight because it's going to be after midnight, of course, and what we're seeing is by 1:35 a.m., that's when it begins. First, you're going to see the moon dimming. Then it starts to become red. That total eclipse begins at 3:04 a.m. and continues until 4:03 a.m., roughly an hour, and the eclipse maximum is going to be at 3:30 a.m. Then you start to see the moon brighten up quite a bit as the moon continues to move through the sky. It's actually going to get out of the Earth's shadow. So our forecast model, let's look at it here through tonight. By the early morning hours, we are looking at mostly clear conditions. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and take this little by little. Through the next couple of hours, we have more clearing. By 1, 2, 3 a.m., just some low-level clouds even possible. And then we're back to increasing clouds through the day tomorrow. Now, it's not until Tuesday evening that we start to see our next chance of rain, and at first just a few sprinkles. Most of this pushes through Wednesday. Starting with the early morning hours of Tuesday night going into Wednesday morning, we are going to start to see rain and then falling snow levels, rain becoming snow, winds becoming breezy for most of us, and this continuing well into next week. So talk about an active pattern that is on the way. But let's also look at the snow report, because we haven't had any new snow in the last 24 hours, actually losing 3+ inches in some locations, bringing us down to 42 inches at Bachelor's Base, 20 inches, and in fact at last check, yeah, it's 20 inches at Hoodoo's Base as well. So we're actually losing quite a bit of that snow. But when it comes to Tuesday's pattern prognosis, no new snow is expected. In fact, snow chances don't even pick up until Tuesday night. We could see a little bit more rain before it transitions to snow. And then through the day tomorrow, we start off with some AM fog that clears out. Increasing clouds are expected through the day, and by 5 p.m., not much in the way of precipitation yet. Now, the National Weather Service has issued a winter weather advisory for this next system. That's going to be from 4 a.m. Wednesday, so Tuesday night, until 10 p.m. Wednesday evening. And we're looking at an additional 5 to 10 inches of snow in that area that is purple. So satellite and radar shows that high pressure is building into the region, and this is going to be what we refer to as a transient high. It rolls out just as quickly as it moves in, and that next system is already well offshore with a cold front that's rolling this way and another front further up there as well. Outside of that, another ridge of high pressure to the south of our low, but more activity is happening out over the Pacific Ocean. So it's something we're going to continue to track, because it looks like we're actually setting up for an active pattern through most of this week starting tomorrow evening. overnight, tomorrow night, I should say. Because as of right now, we have a huge area of dry air over central Oregon. That's definitely good news. Some light clouds are still pushing through, and our relative humidity is actually high in a couple spots. That's actually where I'm looking at some of this fog starting to develop relatively earlier than other spots. Now, in the last 24 hours, we topped out in the 50s with 65 degrees in Warm Springs. It is still 65 there. They've had a little more sunshine. They warmed up quite nicely, and already down to 48 in Sun River. We're on the downhill side of the day, starting to cool. So right now, temperatures are ranging between 2 and 11 degrees warmer than 24 hours ago. Tonight, we fall back into the 30s with some 20s, near and below freezing for most. And then by tomorrow, we'll be topping out in the 60s and 50s across the high desert. So a mild day before that next system rolls in. And once it rolls in, we are getting wet on the high desert with snow in the mountains before another ridge of high pressure starts to build in Thursday. That's also going to be transient, also not sticking around for very long. Now, with this next system, mostly starting Tuesday night going into Wednesday, we're looking at showers and mountain snow. But Thursday or Friday and Saturday, we start to rebound. Thursday brings a clearing. Friday, we start to rebound. Saturday, we're in the mid to upper 50s, some 60s again. So forecast model does have this high pressure over the region. Look out over the Pacific Ocean. We have two different cold fronts, and that's just what we can see right now. So the forecast model does have some of these pockets of fog developing through the early morning hours. Freeze frame at 3 a.m. Some of that fog, this is when we're looking at the lunar eclipse totality, the blood moon, if you will. And then going forward through Tuesday, increasing clouds. Showers start to creep into the area during the evening and overnight hours. Then it's just wet with snow in the mountains and then falling snow levels. So by the time we get to Thursday morning, a few snow showers are possible. Then by Friday, our next system is already starting to roll into the region. And so just to look at one more forecast model with you, and I'm going to fast forward this one a little bit more. So by Friday, we're starting to see those temperatures really pick up again. And then through this weekend, it looks like an unsettled pattern, but not much at all in the way of precipitation. So that does mean that we are looking at most of our precipitation Tuesday night, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then that next week's system. So between now and 8 a.m. Wednesday, nothing. Then through Wednesday, we start through, Tuesday night going into Wednesday, we start to see some shadows. By Wednesday at 8 a.m., already have quite a bit of snow in the Cascades. And so it does look like we are expecting even more precipitation across central Oregon. That is going to equate to 12 plus inches through the highest elevations of the Cascades, up to 12 inches even through the passes. And then looking at the bigger picture, not much different. So wind gusts right now, between 5 and 15 miles per hour, the gusts alone, actual wind speeds 2 to 12 miles per hour out of the north. Now tonight, mostly a light breeze. By tomorrow, breezy at times. That's as this next system starts to approach. And as it works its way through the high desert Wednesday, we're looking at breezy conditions becoming gusty at times. So for tonight, ultimately, we're looking at 30s with some 20s. By tomorrow, Tuesday, 50s with some 60s on the map, and with that, increasing clouds are expected. So ultimately, we have that lunar eclipse tonight, totality between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. Then we warm up Tuesday. By Wednesday and Thursday, it's just going to be chilly, breezy with mountain snow, some snow in our lower elevations. Then we get a break between systems Thursday and Friday. After that, a few more chances of precipitation, but it's going to be fewer and further between. So our headlines for this Monday, March 2nd include PM clearing. That's going to continue. Chilly night is expected. We have that total lunar eclipse tonight, and then a mild Tuesday with a midweek system expected. That midweek system is going to be the big one that brings us from the 60s back into the 40s. But as of right now, just a few light clouds across the high desert, and no precipitation in sight through most of the state. That's the latest in weather. Join us tonight on Central Oregon Daily News. We'll have the latest headlines and your most reliable forecast. See you then.